Today on the Bandrew Says podcast, we're going to be analyzing YouTube automatically hiding the comment section, also YouTube remastering some old music videos, so go a stick and head around. Huh? Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome back to episode 173 of the BSP. My name is Bandrew. This is what I says. Like always, down below there are timestamps of everything that I talk about, so you can skip around and save a couple of minutes. But if you got the time, I would appreciate you checking out the entire dang episode. If you do want a different version of the show, either audio or video, you can find that at bandrewsays.com. And if you want other podcasts, go check out geeksrising.com. Now let's go ahead and jump into the news, and it was somewhat of a slow news week, so we don't have too much going on. The first one is a report that YouTube was found automatically hiding the comment section on mobile devices. It has been found that they are testing this out on both Android and iOS, but it doesn't really appear to be too widespread yet, which is actually how YouTube seems to do the majority of their testing, where they don't roll it out to the user base as a whole, but rather they roll it out to a fraction of a percent to see how that user base or that test base likes it, and to see how the test affects their watch time and YouTube's profitability. So essentially all this does is it automatically hides the comment section, and now you will have to click a view comments button to actually view them. And this will be located in between the thumbs down and the share button. And there's only one real reason that I can think of a feature like this being tested, and it would be to avoid people unintentionally seeing naughty language, which seems kind of silly to me, but I understand some people are very easily offended, and if they see a naughty word, they may say YouTube is actually endorsing this type of language and behavior. We hate YouTube now. So in my eyes, they're just essentially trying to save face, because I can 100% imagine an instance where somebody's just scrolling down to see a video to watch and then, oh my God, there's the N-word. I didn't know that YouTube endorsed the N-word. I hate YouTube now because YouTube says the N-word. I can imagine that happening because people in the comment sections are typically monsters. Not on my channels. In my comment section, people are amazing. Knock on wood. Don't you dare challenge me on that. Don't you dare. YouTube came out with a statement or a response to TechCrunch, and they said, "We're always experimenting with ways to help people more easily find, watch, share, and interact with the videos that matter most to them. We are testing a few different options on how to display comments on the watch page. This is one of the many small experiments that we run all the time on YouTube, and we'll consider rolling features out more broadly based on feedback on these experiments." And that is really all the information that's currently available surrounding this test. And does it affect you? Not currently, because it is such a small percentage. I personally don't see it on my mobile YouTube app. I have not seen any comments from people saying, hey, I had to click a button to see the comments. It seems like a very small test. But if YouTube finds that this is ultimately beneficial for them, meaning hiding comments leads to higher watch time or people watching more videos, which ultimately means YouTube makes more money, I think we will see this roll out to more people. And if that does occur, we'll have to wait and see, but if that does occur, you would likely see a decrease in engagement on your videos, which sucks, but probably wouldn't affect the distribution of your video too much, because as I spoke about a couple of weeks ago, in my opinion, it seems like watch time is the most important, and watch sessions are the most important in the YouTube algorithm determining what videos they will recommend. Let's jump to the next piece of news, which is YouTube remastering old music videos. Wow, how cool! YouTube has partnered with Universal Music Group to remaster old standard definition videos to make them high definition, and they are going to be remastering videos from the likes of the Beastie Boys, Boys to Men, No Doubt, Tom Petty, and a whole lot more, and there will be about 1,000 titles that they remaster and bump the quality up for that will be available by the end of 2020. One key takeaway that I got from this blog post is this line: the new videos will seamlessly replace the original versions on both YouTube and within YouTube Music, while retaining the same URL, view counts, and likes. Now, the reason that this stood out to me is that this shows that there is a way to replace the source file of a video and essentially replace the video that's currently live with a new version. This is something that creators have been asking for since day one, and it would be amazing if YouTube said, okay, we will allow you to do that. If you make a mistake, we'll allow you to re-upload a corrected version. But I honestly don't think we will ever see that roll out because that would be so easily abused. For instance, let's imagine there's a commenter on YouTube named Joe Schmo. He sees a video of a cat doing a dance or a speech that's very uplifting and powerful. He leaves a comment saying, "I love this speech so much, it made me feel warm and fuzzy inside, best speech ever." Then, let's imagine that the YouTube uploader hates Joe Schmo and wants to make Joe Schmo look bad. Then, he changes the video from a very uplifting, positive speech to a Hitler speech. Now, Joe Schmo looks like he's saying that a Hitler speech is warm and uplifting. That's how I see it being abused. So I don't think we'll ever see this roll out to creators as a whole, but it would be amazing if they did. It will be interesting to see these videos remastered and turned into high definition, and hopefully that means the audio quality will be significantly better as well. I will 100% be checking out the Beastie Boys one. Come on, be sabotage, fix sabotage, make it HD. I would appreciate that so much. That is actually all the news for this week. Let's jump to what you had to say. First comment comes from MX Duke. He says, "How do you not have more subs?" Thank you very much for the comment, MX Duke. Appreciate ya. And I want to be clear here, I am not including this to toot my own horn. I am including this to impart some knowledge on you and share my opinion on why I don't have more subs. When you're creating content for any platform, I believe it's really important to understand what the expectations of your potential viewer and listener is and adjust your expectations accordingly. YouTube's audience, for instance, at least for the most part and excluding some outliers, seem to prefer short-form content like 5-minute videos on a single topic or a 10-minute video on a single topic. That gives them exactly the information that they are looking for, and it is easily searchable, and it's easy for YouTube to throw that into an algorithm and know what people are going to be getting. Podcasts, on the other hand, like this one, are rather difficult to grow and gain an audience for on YouTube because they're long-form content, typically 30 plus minutes, and they typically include 5 or more topics. So it's very difficult to search them, and YouTube doesn't know if somebody's going to enjoy the entire thing, so it kind of gets lost in the algorithm. For instance, last week, if somebody were to search top 5 horror films and my podcast episode came up because I talked about some of my favorite horror films, they may click on the video and then watch 10 or 15 seconds and not hear me mention horror films once, and in reality, I don't start talking about horror films until 25 or 30 minutes in. They're going to click off, and that will negatively impact my video. So the reason that I don't have more subs on this channel is because the format of this show is not tailored to appease the majority of YouTube viewers, and I am personally just a bit too lazy to clip every segment into its own video, which would make it more searchable and it would make the clips more consumable. I did consider this at one point, and I did a couple of clips on this channel, but it seemed to flood the subscription feed a bit too much, send out way too many notifications, and I didn't want to be a bother to people. So maybe I should just finally give in and launch a clips channel, which is more searchable, and maybe people will find the show that way and then say, I like this clip, let me go check out the actual show. There you go. That's why I don't have more subs. I hope you can gain some information and adjust your strategy accordingly. Next comment comes from Being Blind Show, and he says, I think that this is the best I've ever heard you sound out of all the mics I've heard you on. Amazing! I've already spent way more money on audio equipment I've yet to use because of you, so you need to knock it off. Keep up the great work, brother. Thank you, Being Blind Show. Appreciate you. And again, I am not including this to toot my own horn. I am including this for a very specific reason, and that very specific reason would be I want to drive home the point that audio is incredibly subjective. And I say that because last week I really wasn't too fond of the audio. I thought it had a bit too much boost in the high end, and it brought out this really crispy and gritty and really obnoxious sound in my voice, which drove me insane while I was editing it, and I didn't want to EQ it out because I want people to get the general character of these mic models that I'm using. So I just find it very interesting that you loved it, you think it's the best I've sounded, and I really didn't enjoy it too much. So just a reminder, audio is incredibly subjective. What one person loves, another may hate. What one person hates, another may love. Next comment comes from Gut Punch News, and he says, "It seems like you can't broach topics anymore for fear of losing monetization. I need at least an hour of this show so I'm less likely to yell at people. Entertain me, fine sir. Entertain me. Otherwise, I'll make people cry." All right, Gut Punch News, just calm down. Calm your tits. You're gonna be fine, you little snowflake. I know that's really gonna bother him. He's gonna start screaming at people automatically. I'm just kidding. You're not a snowflake. So I honestly don't care about monetization at all, especially on this channel. Let me share some insight with you. Last week's episode, I earned a whopping 78 cents. I can't even buy a soda pop at a gas station with the 78 cents I earned off of last week's episode. So in all honesty, I could not care less about monetization on this channel at all. I will talk about whatever I want without any fear of demonetization. I would much rather be earning 0 cents because I find that much less offensive, kind of like I'm donating my time, rather than earning 10 or 5 cents per hour. I find that much more offensive. If I were to go into a job and they said, "Hey, we need some interns. We'll go ahead and let you get some experience," versus, "Hey, we'll go ahead and hire you, but we'll pay you 5 cents per hour." Very different dynamics there. I don't know why, but one is much more offensive, and the 5 cents per hour that would make me so angry. But the reason that I avoided getting political last week is because this entire political discourse is just maddening, especially when you're looking at news outlets, because all they do is, "This person said this and I interpret it this way, they're hateful, I hate them." Then another news agency says, "Well, I interpret it a different way, and they are not what you say they are." "Well, you're a Nazi." "No, you're a Nazi. You're a fascist. You're a fascist. You're a socialist. You're a dumber guy. I hate all of you. Wah, wah, wah. It's just ridiculous name calling, and I can't stand it. Ridiculous. I hate it. I don't want to talk about it. It's a waste of time and a waste of my energy. I hope that cleared that up for you. I am not trying to avoid talking about sensitive subjects because of demonetization. Take my 75 cents. See if I care. See if I care, YouTube. And finally, last week I mentioned that I didn't imagine many people would be using the subscription tab. Well, I was wrong, because we got a lot of comments saying, "Hey, we still use the subscription tab and we avoid the homepage like the plague because screw the algorithm can suck it." So I was completely wrong in my assumption that people did not use subscriptions anymore. And that's it for the What You Had to Say segment, so let's jump to my favorite part of the show, the Ask Bandrew segment. All right, if y'all got any questions, go ahead and send them to AskBandrew@gmail.com, and I will likely answer them on an upcoming episode of the podcast. If you do want to send in an audio question, you can do so using SpeakPipe, which is installed on BandrewSays.com and BandrewScott.com, or you can just send anything into the AskBandrew@gmail.com email address. First email comes from BoardGamerPH again. They say, "Just a quick question. I recently bought a Focusrite Scarlett. I plugged it into my Windows PC, turned on direct monitoring, and started recording. When I finished, my audio sounded echoey. Then, I also have a question on video podcast. I know that you have 2 cameras recording at the same time, and your audio is probably plugged into an audio interface somewhere, so you have 2 video clips and 1 audio clip. How do you edit this? Do you edit the audio first and just try to sync it manually to your video, or do you edit the audio twice alone and on the video?" BoardGamerPH, thank you very much for the email. As far as your first question, why your audio is echoey, that's very difficult because echoey can mean a couple of different things. First off, it could mean that there is an actual echo or a delay on your voice, which is what you are hearing right now. It's kind of a doubling of the voice with just a slight delay in the arrival of the sound. So maybe it's a half a millisecond off or a half a second off, and it creates this echo or delay. But also, people frequently refer to reverb as echo. So as far as the actual echo or delay that I demonstrated here, I don't know exactly what might be causing that because there's too much to pinpoint here. It may just be that somewhere in your chain, you're routing your monitor back into Audacity, which is what you're recording. I don't know without having my hands in the system, looking at everything and trying to pinpoint what's causing it. As far as reverb, that's much easier to solve. The best way would be just get foam for your walls or moving blankets for your walls, which can cost $10, $20 for a couple of them. Very cheap and very affordable. But if you're farther away from the microphone, it's a very easy fix to decrease the amount of reverb that you're picking up. And it would be just bring the mic a little bit closer to your mouth, decrease the gain on your interface, and this will essentially be improving the signal to noise ratio where noise is the reverb, because you're closer to the microphone, so to the microphone, your voice is louder. As you decrease the gain on the interface, it is decreasing the background noise. So ultimately, if that's what you're experiencing and you are a little bit farther away from the microphone, that's a very easy fix. But as far as the actual echo or delay, not 100% sure there. I would need to actually see the setup and the system and everything going on there. Then we got question 2, which is going to be a little bit tedious for some people to listen to, but I think it's fun, so I am just going to walk you through the entire thing. You are correct. I have 2 cameras recording 2 SD cards at all time. I have the Canon 70D right over here. Hello, Canon 70D. And the GoPro Hero 6 over here. Hello, GoPro Hero 6. Both recording to SD cards. And on my computer, I am currently using a USB microphone, and I am recording that into Audio Hijack on 2 separate tracks. I have the microphone on one, and I have my soundboard as a stereo track recording separately. So I end up with 2 audio files and multiple camera files. Once I'm done recording, I import the footage from my computer, or to my computer rather, and then I put the audio files into Logic Pro to do all of my processing. I add compression, de-esser, etc., and then export it as a WAV file. And then I run that WAV file through Auphonic to level it to -16 LUFS. At this point, I have done no chopping or editing or anything. I have only thrown processing onto the audio file. Everything has remained consistent as I recorded it, other than the processing. Once I'm done with that, then I import my footage and the processed audio, which is now a single track, into Final Cut Pro, and I create what are called compound clips for each camera, which just turns the multiple segments into a single clip. The reason I have to do that is the 70D and the GoPro have file size limits for the files they are recording, so a 30-minute clip on the Canon 70D ends up being 5 individual segments. I have to compile those into a single clip, and then I do the same with the GoPro, which doesn't have any time constraints, but still does have file size limits, so it'll end up being 5 or 6 or 7 segments as well. And once that's done, I highlight all the video and the audio files and select Create Multicam Clip, and this creates a new aggregate clip where the DSLR is camera 1, the GoPro is camera 2, and the audio file is file 3 there. What that allows me to do is just click 1 or 2 on my keyboard whenever I want to switch the camera angles. It makes it so incredibly quick to edit and make changes between the angles. Previously, I would have both the DSLR and the GoPro files there on the timeline and manually splice every single time I wanted to change angle. It used to take about 2 or 3 hours to make all the cuts and the edits to move stuff between angle 1, angle 2. Now I just hit 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, about 100 times per episode, if not more. So it's very easy, and that's how I do it. I hope that helps. Very good question, Board Gamer PH. Next email comes from Stefan. He says, "Hello, Bandrew. Could you kindly do something about podcast editing, post-processing audio stuff? Danke." You're welcome. I don't know how to say you're welcome in German. Apologies, Stefan. I did something recently on this. I have a video on the Bandrew Says podcast YouTube channel where I walk through all the processing that I did on an episode. I will include a link in the show notes if you want to check that out. And I will eventually make a video on the podcastage channel about editing out certain phrases. Maybe you want to cut out all the ums. Maybe you want to stop saying Maybe you want to reduce the sibilants. I'll walk through all of that. But before I make my podcast audio processing to put on my main channel, I want to get back to using one microphone and really focus on honing in on it and making it as good as possible. Because right now, I switch microphones so many times that it's difficult to get something that I'm really, truly happy with. So one day, I'll get the actual official podcast processing done, but I have something in the interim to keep you over, hold you over, fulfill that need that you have while you wait. You'll probably be waiting a while. There's too many microphones to review. Thank you very much for the email, Stefan. Appreciate you. And the last email or submission that we got is from Roger, and it is an awesome video submission. Take it away, Roger.
Hey, Bandrew, how's it going? It's Roger again. I wanted to ask you 3 things. 1. What would you say is the better way to get to know someone in a single question? A. Asking them what's their opinion on the whole Steven Crowder and Carlos Massa situation, or B. Asking them what's their favorite season of the X-Files. Now, 2nd, is there any question you would like to propose to get to know someone? And 3rd, what is your favorite season of the X-Files? It's always good to hear from you, and greetings all the way from Mexico City. Bye.
Roger, thank you so much for sending that in. That was an amazing video clip. The questions, phenomenal. You know I'm an X-Files fanatic. I'm an X-File with a PH. Appreciate you. And if you weren't watching the video, hashtag Q2U hype. The cult groweth. That is my sequel to my horror film Q2U sadness, Q2U blues. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Let's jump to these questions. The first one, do I think asking somebody what's your favorite season of the X-Files or what are your thoughts on Steven Crowder and Carlos Massa, which one would let you get to know somebody better? As much as I want to say ask them about the X-Files, I honestly do think that asking about Steven Crowder and Carlos Massa would give you a better understanding of the values that that person holds, and that will give you more insight into who they are as a person, how they interact with the world, and how they're going to move forward in their life. Because I think that is very indicative of how they view society as a whole, and how somebody views society is how they're going to navigate through their life. So I would like to say, ask them about the X-Files because you know me. But I think to get to know somebody, the more controversial Steven Crowder versus Carlos Massa would be a better question. Now, you asked, what would I ask if I wanted to get to know somebody? I think if I was actually interacting with somebody, which is a very rare instance, and I was trying to get to know them, I would ask them something along the lines of, what are your thoughts on quantitative easing, and do you believe that it's a viable method of economic stimulus? Not really. I like finance, I like economics, but I'm not going to ask anybody that. That would be ridiculous. I think it's fascinating to hear what people's favorite conspiracy theories are, and I think that would be a relatively harmless way to get to understand who somebody is and what their interests are, what their fears are. Maybe you could ask something along the lines of, what do you think the biggest threat to humanity is? It would be a heavy question to ask or a heavy conversation to have, but it might give you some really good insight into who the person is. Are they scared of aliens? Do they think that extraterrestrial life is a big threat? Do they think global warming is the imminent threat? What about terrorism, economic collapse, a new world order, reptilian elite? What is it? I think that would be a really fun way to get to know somebody. Then, question 3. This one was hard and so much fun to answer. Great question. what is my favorite season of The X-Files? I'm stuck in between season 2 and season 3, although I am leaning a little bit more towards season 2. I think that is the peak of season 2, and I want to explain why these two are my favorite. Season 2 seems to have the better mythology episodes. If somebody hasn't seen The X-Files, there are really two separate types of episodes. There are mythology, which are the overarching cigarette-smoking man, aliens, government conspiracy, trying to rule the world through alien-human hybrid DNA. And then there's Monster of the Week episodes. So I think that season 2 has the better mythology episodes, which are my favorite. It has Little Green Men, Dwayne Barry, and Ascension, and it ended with Anasazi, all amazing mythology episodes, and it has some amazing Monster of the Week episodes, like The Host, which has Fluke Man, it has Humbug, and if I'm not mistaken, season 2 has one of my favorite episodes, Sleepless, which has Tony Todd as a Vietnam War vet, where they were experimented on, and it removes something from their brain so they can't sleep, and it gives them certain powers. Amazing episode. Then you come to season 3, which is amazing. It doesn't have as good episodes when it comes to mythology, but it has what I think are some of the greatest episodes of X-Files ever. Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose and Jose Chung's From Outer Space, probably top 2 episodes of the show ever. And then you have Jack Black and Giovanni Ribisi in season 3, both amazing actors, and Jack Black, what a legend. They're in the episode DPO. So between those two, I mean, season 3 does have the greatest episodes of the X-Files ever, but as a whole, I think season 2 offers a little bit more because it does have the really good mythology. Chris Carter didn't seem to be completely out of ideas or have gone completely off his rocker. And it does have the Fluke Man and Humbug, which has Jigsaw, I believe. Not Jigsaw, that's Saw. What's his name? The Enigma, if I'm not mistaken. That's Humbug, where they go to the carnival and I'm not going to ruin it for you. So season 2, my favorite. I had a lot of fun thinking about that one. And that is actually going to wrap up the What You Had to Say and the Ask Bandrew segment. But we got something else. Last week, I had so much fun talking about movies and DVDs and CDs. I figured I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to try to do this every single week and pick 1 or 2 of my favorite films or CDs or books or TV shows that I watched over the last week. So first up is a film called Mayhem, which is a film by Joe Lynch, amazing director. I listened to his podcast, the Movie Crypt podcast with Adam Green. Adam Green has done all of the Hatchet films. Joe Lynch did Wrong Turn 2, which has, what's his face? Singer of Black Flag. I can't remember his name right now. I'm a dope. But Mayhem, this film, probably one of my favorite films I have seen over the last couple of years. It is just so incredibly fun and brutal and violent, and it just spoke to me. What this film is about is people get infected by a disease and it lowers their inhibitions, meaning that they do exactly what they want, whatever pops into their mind, whether it be sex, murder, swearing, doing anything. There's no mental block to keep them from doing it. Well, Steven Yeun of Walking Dead fame works at a high-pressure job, and he gets fired because somebody lied about him. And they are escorting him off of the premises. But before he leaves the building, it gets locked down under quarantine. And they did that because there's an outbreak of this disease at his work building. You can imagine what happens. He loses his inhibitions, somebody lied about him, got him fired, he wants payback, and my God. It's hilarious, it's violent, it's bloody, it's an amazing film, especially if you work a high-stress office job. Everybody in the back of their mind is just screaming all the time. And that's what this film embodies, that screaming voice in the back of your head saying, "Why are you staring at a computer screen 24 hours a day? Get outside, do something." Really amazing film. Loved it. Joe Lynch, you hit it out of the park, buddy. I know you listen to this podcast. Appreciate you. And the second one, the king of comedy. That's right, a VHS tape. What are you doing with a VHS tape, Bandrew? I was at the thrift store, and I always check the VHS section to see if there's anything special, rare, disturbing, banned, any of the above. And I saw the king of comedy, 99 cents. I couldn't turn it down. It's amazing. I think it's actually more relevant today than ever because it's about a comedian who wants fame so bad that he goes to extreme circumstances, goes to extreme levels to achieve that fame. And how better to describe YouTube? People going to the extremes to try to gain fame because they think they deserve it. They think they were born to be famous. They think fame will bring them happiness. That's what I view this film as. Somebody trying to get the happiness that they don't have, trying to find that fame, find that fulfillment, and then people rewarding them for their insane actions. That's YouTube in a condensed description. People being rewarded for their insane behaviors. If you haven't seen this, if you can get your hands on it, The King of Comedy, it is a Martin Scorsese film, Robert De Niro, very well acted, very well written, and very relevant to today's environment. That's it. That's all I got. I will talk to you all next week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you got any questions, askbandrew@gmail.com. Leave a voicemail at bandrewsays.com. Check out other podcasts at geeksrising.com. And I will see you all next time. Bye.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer of Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.